Welcome to Real Talk in My Rooms. I'm your host, Amanda Kristy, and today we have a very special guest joining us. I'm thrilled to welcome Taylor, the founder of Perfect Paws House Calls. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable wisdom as we dive into Taylor's entrepreneurial journey and explore the secrets to building a successful business and following your heart. So, without further ado, welcome Taylor.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I am so excited to chat with you today. First, let's kind of go into how we met.
Was it Halloween? The Halloween event?
Yes.
It was in October.
But why do I feel like I knew you before that?
Through Facebook. We were like
Because of the same
friends through Facebook, but like didn't know each other.
Yes. And then we met at that event.
At that event, we were put right next to each other.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly how it happened.
Yes.
So that's how we met. But I feel like I've known Taylor for so long. She actually takes care of my boys, Roman and Chief. And she takes care of dogs well, you tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Well, I am a certified dog groomer, and I started my business in September of 2020 doing house call pet nail trims. And I do house call nail trims all over Monmouth and Ocean County and here in New Jersey, a little bit of Middlesex, and
she's expanding.
And I am expanding to places where I couldn't even imagine that I can expand, and never would have thought that my little business that I started out as a side hustle would turn into this amazing, huge business that it is.
And what did you do before this? What was your...
Before I started this business, I was working as a groomer in a shop, and I was there for a few years before I started this. And I went to school in like 2018-ish, 2017 for grooming. And so I got my certification as a certified dog groomer, and then I started working as a dog groomer in a shop, and I loved it because I loved being around animals, but I knew it wasn't for me. It wasn't the full grooms and the stress and the being stuck in a salon all day, and I always said that like I'm never meant to be somebody that just sits in one place and sits in an office. I couldn't sit in an office and not see the sunlight and all that. So being stuck in a salon for like 6, 7, 8 hours a day was just driving me insane. So then this business kind of just fell into my lap one day. And actually my dad, who lives in Pennsylvania, texted me one day or called me, and he had a German Shepherd at the time who was really old and couldn't leave the house. So he was saying that he wishes that he had somebody to come to the house and do it, not even in a mobile van, because Harley couldn't even get into the mobile van. Somebody that came right to Harley's bed, did the nails because her nails were so long. So that was, let's just say like that was on a Wednesday that he called me and said that. And by that night and the next day I started thinking, and I was like, this is something that is needed. Like
Absolutely.
Dogs that, especially in that sense where they're too old and they can't leave the house, or they're big, whereas like my dad could pick her up and bring her, but that's so much stress on both of them.
Of course.
So by that Sunday, I had my business name, I had my logo, I had my insurance, I had my LLC going, I had everything. And
Girl, you wasted no time.
I wasted no time, and that's the type of person that I am. When I want to do something, I don't think about it, I don't research it, I just go for it. And I
love
think
that
has just been, and I advise that for everybody, that to just go for it. Don't sit and research it, because then you're going to be waiting for the perfect time, and the perfect time is never going to come, because there is never a perfect time for it. So
right, there's always something that you're going to need, or something that needs to get done, whatever. But if you just go for it and do it, and thankfully you did, because I know that I have friends whose dogs get super stressed when they have to go to the vet, like really bad, where they have to kind of medicate them to calm them down.
Yeah.
And something as simple, or even the groomers, like going to the groomers. I remember I tried getting Roman, accustomed to it when he was a puppy. But even still, we would get there and he would put his tail down, not want to go in, and it's stressful for them. And then you're leaving them for a few hours, and it's like a whole big thing. Yeah. So the second that I found out that the business that you had, I'm like, oh my God, this is genius. Like this is amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that you come there, you make the dogs feel comfortable. They get to know you. Like even my dogs, which are little brats.
They don't love me, but
they don't love getting
they
their
don't
nails
like me, but they
clipped.
love me.
I was gonna
That's
say,
what it is.
yeah. They don't necessarily like the whole process of it, but they do it. It's so quick, it's so easy, and it's at the comfort of our own home.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that's huge. And especially for even people who are older, like older actual like people who can't get to their dogs to a vet or a groomer to get their, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then their poor dog's nails are like curving over, and you're like, I think you need to get your dog's nails done. So like it's perfect for people like that as well. And I love what you do, and I love that you wasted no time and you went into it. And now, what year was that? I'm sorry if you mentioned it.
September of 2020.
September of 2020. How long did you think it took for you to kind of get your name out there?
Believe it or not, I had the idea, let's say Sunday, I started going. I had 1 week of like an appointment here and there, and then by the next week, I had the full schedule booked.
Wow.
And it just, like when I tell you it blew up, it blew up. And we're almost 3 years in now, and I have over 1,100 clients, and I could have double, triple that, but I just don't have.
You're one person.
I'm one person, and
but you are expanding, which means that with growing and expanding comes hiring people. So the more that the more people that you add to your team, the further out you can go.
100%.
Right? Like this is something that you want to really just take out.
I want to take over the country with this. Like I want a franchise. I want people, Perfect Paws House Calls all over the United States.
And I love the name.
Right?
I love the name.
That was like, I wish I had the paper of like, I had everything like Happy Paws House Calls, Pretty Paws House Calls, and then something about Perfect Paws House Calls. It just like, when I wrote it down, I was like, that's it.
This is it.
That's it.
This is the one. And then, so how did you like create your logo? So if you're watching on video, you can see this cute logo. How did you create it? Did you have someone do it for you?
I created it. I'm a DIY girl. I like to do everything. If I could save a buck doing it, I am. We've talked about bougie on a budget. If we can save a buck, I'm doing it on my own. I thought of the idea of like, I'm very girly. So I like pink, I like sparkle, I like hearts. So I was like, all of that put into one. And I don't know, I was just playing around with I was going to hire somebody. And then when I saw the rates, as much as the person was worth the money,
right?
I'm like, if I could do it myself, let me try it. So I just played around with different, I own probably like 5 different logos, and I would send it. I have a group chat with my mom, my dad, and my brother, and I would send it in, say, what do you think of this? And they would give me feedback, and that's just, like I said, within that weekend, I had everything.
You were good.
I had it ready to go.
Now, is this like the first business that you've ever had? Like, how did you know what to do? How did you know, and by the way, I didn't prep Taylor for these questions that I'm asking. She's just amazing. So, okay.
We're just going to go for it.
We're just going to go with it.
That's my life model. Just go for it.
How did you know what to do? Did you research? Did you do some research and then say, okay, I know enough, let me do it? Or did you have some kind of knowledge from school, previous things?
Absolutely nothing. When I tell you I literally went for it, I just went for it. I never went to college. I was never a person that wanted to go to college. And actually, for a little bit, okay, backstory, you know this, but not everybody does. I was married for 5 years, and my ex-husband was in the military. So I lived in Germany for a year, and when I was in Germany, I was thinking about going to college when I was there because I didn't work, and I was like, should I go to college? What should I do? And when I was in Germany, I was going to go to college to be a vet tech, and then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, college really is not for me, number one. Number two, do I really want to work in the vet environment? And just because I am super emotional, and as much as I respect vet techs and vets and all that has to do with it, I just knew that it's not something that I could handle, because I think I would having to put a dog down, I think I would make the owner so much more emotional, because I'd be like ugly, crying, sobbing that I couldn't catch my breath. So I was like, maybe that is not the plan for me. So when I was in Germany, I went to school to be a certified aromatherapist and essential oil specialist, and that's kind of what I did there. That's what I started out with. And then after Germany, I moved to Tucson, Arizona. And when I was in Tucson, I started a little blog called The Toxin Free Lifestyle.
And how old were you, by the way, at this point in time?
When I was in Germany, I was 18. I moved to Germany when I was 18. And then by the time I went to Arizona, I was probably 19. 18 turning 19, around that area. And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And
Which you're not alone with. That's a lot of people.
it's hard, yeah, especially with the life that I lived. I wasn't the normal, like, go to school, go to community college and figure it out while you're there. I graduated I was married when I was a senior in high school, graduated high school. The October after I graduated high school, I was shipped off to Germany and moved there and figured it out.
Right.
You know, and I remember when I was getting married, somebody, I don't remember who it was in my life, but somebody came over and I guess was trying to talk me out of getting married at 18, which I don't blame them, but they said something of like, have your own personality. Like, do you want to just be this military man's wife? Like, you're getting married so young, you're gonna be known as his wife. And I feel like that stuck with me, and I don't want to be somebody's wife. I want to make my own thing, like make a name for myself. And I think that's where the drive was always there in that sense. And then when I moved to Arizona, a little flash forward, I one day started a blog, and I was for essential oils and essential oil recipes and essential oil hacks, and it's called The Toxin Free Lifestyle. And even that, I thought it was going to be like something little that I was texting all my family, can you please follow me so I don't have no followers? And then that kind of just blew. That was another thing where it's like, I just go with the flow. One day I thought of the idea, that same day I took a picture and posted it, and I didn't think of it,
You took the messy action, regardless. You didn't
Always.
wait for it to be perfect. You just take the messy action and you made it happen.
It's not going to be perfect, and I'm just going to figure it out as I go, and that's what happened. And now I'm at almost 50,000 followers on that, and I have a blog, and so then that blog was kind of my first hustle that I kind of got a taste of what being an entrepreneur is, and I kind of just want it more and more.
You're like, screw that 9-to-5 life.
Not for me. Sorry, not for me. So through that, I have an Etsy shop that I still do, and then I have the blog where I do affiliate marketing and all of that, and I still give people hacks, tips, recipes. I still do my certified aromatherapist thing, where if anybody wants a special blend for a certain ailment or anything, I still do that.
Do you teach classes? Like, do a little like...
I don't anymore, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. But maybe one day in the future.
Sorry. Side note.
Side note. Another business idea.
But the difference, I feel like, with you and other people who get these, like, oh, this idea. First of all, they all kind of come together, right? Like, yes. They all sort of, like, have a similar, like the blog, the essential oils, and then even, I know one is, like, with the dogs, but everything kind of, like, the way you would, I guess, take on your business, like everything kind of like comes together. And I think it's good to have multiple sources of income.
Yes.
And I feel like the difference with you and other people is that like you're actually executing. You're not sitting there and being like, oh, I have this great idea, and then like not
a year later, or what's going on with it. Yes.
You're actually executing, and you have a system with them all where everything's pretty much running smoothly at least, so you're able to do the different things.
Juggle everything at once, which it is a lot. It's like I do a few other things like that. I'm also a content creator where I make UGC content for brands, so everything.
Amazing.
That's a whole nother business called Bella Rosa Media. That's like totally separate, but I try to.
We're gonna link everything in the description so that you guys can connect, because there's so many ways you can connect with Taylor. Listen, if you're not in New Jersey and you might not be able to utilize her right now for your dog, there's so many other ways you can connect with her.
What do you need? Because I got multiple things going. So when I was in Arizona, along with my blog that I started, I went to grooming school when I was there, and that's when my love for grooming kind of started. And then when I moved back to New Jersey, like I said, I was working in the salon for a few years, and then one day in September, I was like, let me start. I told my boss, who's like family to me, I love her. I was like, I'm just gonna start it out to be like a side hustle. My days off are Wednesdays. I'm just gonna do it on my day off. And then everything all works out, because that actually is the same year that COVID hit. And then things like we were closing, and then like the shop, we weren't allowed to work, and then just everything all at once. So I was able to focus a little bit on my business. Like I said, one day I had one appointment in the schedule, and then the next week I had 5 appointments in the schedule, and then the next week after that I had 10, 15
kept growing,
and then it just kept growing, and now here we are.
I love that. Yeah. So We're going to get into the questions now.
Oh, sorry, I talk too much.
No, you don't. I was actually going to say I love you, and we're definitely going to have you on again because I feel like there's so much that we could talk about. Like we've talked every time she comes over and does my dog's nails. We're always talking. We always have like great conversation. So I already like anticipated having you on, not just probably twice, but like 3 or 4 times.
I have a lot to say.
We are going to definitely be having you back on. But so this episode, we kind of geared questions towards specific things. If you guys have any questions for Taylor that you want to know, you can always leave them in the comments and we can ask them the next time. But in the meantime, what motivated you to start your own business in the pet service industry, and what challenges did you face in the early stages?
What motivated me just in general was I grew up with my parents were, you could say, entrepreneurs. They had their own promotional item business, and they ended up getting divorced and had a lot of money issues. So I grew up at a very young age having to worry about money and where, if the lights were going to get shut off or if the gas was going to get shut off or what we were going to eat today. And I just knew from literally 5 years old that about money and stressing about money. And my brother and I, it's so funny because we've always been like the entrepreneur type where we would sit like on my driveway at 10 and 14 and just be writing down business ideas. And we used to write down cutest little entrepreneur business ideas and just think of all these different things that at 10 years old we could start a business. And so we always just had that in us. So I knew always at one point I was going to start a business, and I always, going back to the college thing, I always, especially in high school, learning was always, not that learning was a struggle for me, I just feel like I didn't have the patience to sit and learn. It's not like I'm smart and I could, if I put myself into it, I could get 100 on a test, but I just...
Right. But I feel like the school, just to take a little detour real quick, the school system, everything is just backwards. We're going to school to get, graded on how well you are a test taker, but not everyone's a great test taker and can be extremely smart and create something all these people who've created huge things weren't great at school.
Exactly.
And we have these schools judging us based off of if you get an A or not. I'm the same way. I was never great in school. And then it's the comparison, so-and-so got an A+, what happened with you? And you're I don't know. I tried my best. Clearly I didn't do great on it, but I thought I knew it, but I didn't. And it's it's sad though, because as kids, you're so impressionable and that's what you're going through. So that's a whole, thank God you went a separate way.
Right? Yeah, I think after taking my SATs and the score that I got, I was I don't think college is for me.
Smart.
And so...
Saved yourself some money.
Saved myself money, number one. Number two, since then, I always wanted to be able to, because, you have those people that in your life did you go to college?
No, I did for a couple of years. I went to Brookdale, same thing, had no idea what I wanted. Thought I wanted to be a radiologist and realized I'm too emotional to do that because when I was working in the hospital for my second day, the guy was yeah, it's sad. You have some people come in here and then they don't come anymore and it's because they died. I'm because they died? That's terrible. I can't. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a vet, but I would never be able to be a vet because I could never I'm way too emotional of a human being to do any of those things.
I'm an empath. I can't.
Same. And what's your sign?
Pisces.
We're water signs. That's another thing. We're very emotional.
Yes.
But yeah, so I went to school I attempted to go there for 2 years. Didn't really take it too serious.
You did better than me.
I did a little bit, but then I'm I wasted money though. Wasted money on the books.
Exactly.
Wasted money on the classes, and for what? Just because I feel I also was trying to figure myself out, and I gained so much more knowledge from working and being out there in the real world and meeting people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? College, I feel you meet people, but it's just after college, you guys kind of all go your separate ways. When you're working and you're with these same people all the time, you're just, I don't know.
And it's so structured, and I feel like it's just college. You're supposed to go through life, go to college, get a job, work your 9 to 5, get paid X amount of money, but still be in student debt for the rest of your life. And it's just not set up for you to succeed.
Right.
And it's not set up for the lifestyle that I want. That I've envisioned and I've wanted, and I think that's why I've always, since high school, I've always told myself I'm going to be successful without college. I can be successful without a degree, and I will prove that to myself, and I will prove that to everybody else that says you can't.
which you have.
which
And
I
I feel like too, like even with that, like, so there's, you know, of course college is great for certain things, like the medical field and
Of
you know what I
course.
mean, like certain things like that. But like also I feel like when you're 18 years old, you really don't know what you want to do in life. And we're all like learning and just, I mean, I was the same way as you. I was young, 7 years old, maybe, setting up outside of my house in Glen Ridge, a little table with my toys on it because I wanted to sell stuff.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
like, I'm grateful in the era that we grew up in the sense of that we had podcasts, YouTube, all these resources. Because, you know, listening to like Gary Vee and Jasmine Star and just like all these big people that are like, that do push. Like, I came from nothing, didn't necessarily go to college. Like Jasmine Star, she was going to law school because that was what
That
she
was your
thought
plan.
to do,
Yep.
you know, like go to law school. Then she found out her mother had cancer when she was 25, and she's like, she kind of had like a midlife crisis moment at 25, and she's like, if I only have 25 years left to live, is this really like what I want to do? And her now husband was like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, photography. And he's like, but you don't even own a camera. So that Christmas got her a camera, and she was a well-known wedding photographer, and now she owns like a social curator, and she's just
yes. Okay, yes, I know the three of you.
So she's like an example of like just following her heart. Her mom is still alive, which is amazing.
Thank
She
God.
beat the
Aw.
cancer, but like, you know, it does put things in perspective, and it's like why are we just doing things because we're supposed to do things? And I think that like unfortunately in our parents' years, that's how it was, but like we kind of are like that generation that's like breaking out of it. And again, like I said, there's people that do need to go to college. My cousin went to college to be a nurse. She's amazing. She's a great nurse. And it takes also a very strong person to go to college for certain things like that. Like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? So you do need it for that, but I just feel like if you don't
not
know,
us.
Yeah, it's definitely not us. Definitely not us.
Good for you. Can't relate.
So with the pets though, like in like the pet industry, like have you had pets your entire life? Like did you think that you were gonna do something with animals or?
Absolutely not. Okay, so I had a bird when I was like, I don't know, first grade. I babysat my aunt's cockatiel. His name is Gucci, and he didn't like kids, so I didn't like him, and I was scared. Not that I didn't like him, I was terrified of him. I would like be like weary around him and cautious.
If a bird doesn't like you, they can get vicious.
No, you don't mess with a bird when a bird doesn't like you. So we had to watch him for, I don't know, a week or two, and I absolutely fell in love with this bird. Like, there's pictures of us sleeping together, and we were cuddling on the couch. And it's so cute. My parents still have the pictures to this day. But